we're looking at 3 sales records in less than 5 years. What are the conversations? What's the mindset?
So first I had to explain to people, wait, but I thought you were a concierge. I didn't know you sell houses. So there's that whole trajectory of change where, okay, now I have to brand myself.
Where top real estate agents tell how they do it. Okay, everybody, it's the Jere Metcalf podcast. And we have on the show today, Sharon Beck. It's good to see you.
My pleasure.
So you have broken sales records. In 2021, you broke a sales record in Surfside. Then you've broken another sales record just last year, recently in Sunny Isle. And you also just closed on a property that might be breaking another sales record in pre-construction in the Ocean House for $17.5 million.
Yes, that's a boutique building here on the sand in Surfside, Florida, direct ocean on Collins Avenue, 93rd Street. It's going to be a super special project, only 24 units. We're excited about what's coming to Surfside.
We met at an event called the Wall Street Conference in South Florida, and everybody couldn't stop talking about how great you were. So, of course, you had to come on the show. Give us your story. How did you come to this point in real estate?
Kind of a different trajectory. I did grow up here, so I'm an original OG Miami from the age of 2. My parents moved here, bought a house on the water here. So I grew up in iconic old Miami, like what's now the Faena district on Collins and 34, 35, right across the water on Flamingo Drive, which was gorgeous. We lived waterfront before waterfront became this hot. Then I moved to New York and was going to do the traditional college route and veered off in a different direction. I was always come from a big family. I was always cooking and preparing beautiful meals. And I decided I want to go to culinary school and become a chef. And my parents were like, are you sure about that? We sell luxury jewelry here in downtown Miami. My dad had a number of stores in the Seabowl building and was expecting me to go in that direction and sell luxury watches and jewelry. And I'm like, no, I want to sweat in the kitchen and prepare meals for people. So I took a little convincing, but I ended up going to culinary school and completing it, graduated with the honors from the Culinary Institute of America, and decided to start as a private chef. And soon after evolved into an agency where I subcontract chefs to work for clients, and evolved into a full-scale concierge business, which I absolutely loved. I love feeding people, helping clients with the luxury lifestyle, whether it's renting a yacht or getting them a chef or preparing a meal or doing a special occasion. That was my passion, and it was beautiful.
Basically, you're in culinary. You're great apparently at scaling and leveraging. So you open up a concierge business. Now, do you still have that business now?
I do.
I thought so. Yeah.
25 plus years. In the interim, while I was running this business and growing it and scaling it, and we got the web domain and the whole staff together, then I moved from New York to Miami. And when that move happened, it opened up a whole nother world, because this is like the rich man's playground. And everybody here chartering a yacht is just a regular Sunday. So here, the whole culinary and concierge thing took off. And through those relationships and interactions, it became clear that it goes hand in hand with real estate. That's when I figured I owned a couple of restaurants here in Miami, and I was burning out from the food industry. And I said, you know what? Everybody keeps telling me, you were born for sales. You're such a people person. You're so passionate about creating dreams for people. Get your real estate license. So I did. It's been about 9 years ago that I got my license, and I decided to pursue this new trajectory. And it's been incredible, mind-blowing.
In the world of real estate, not only are you breaking price records, you have 3 avenues in your world. You're a big philanthropist. You are in this sector of luxury, not just in homes, but it first started in, and I find the top agents in luxury, always somewhere in there, there's hospitality. And the other thing I find interesting, and I don't want to jump in here too fast, but a lot of people will say, when you're a real estate agent, you've just got to leave politics to the side. It doesn't take long to look you up. You put it out there and you own it. You own it.
It's my page. It's my life. It's my opinion. You don't like it, I'm sure you'll find somebody who agrees.
I bet it plays into your success.
Yeah. Never been a rule follower. Never been one to go by the book. I do me. go big or go home. If you're respectful and you're cordial and you're personable and, like you said, not offensive, I don't get into arguments. I don't believe in making enemies. I believe in getting along with everybody and working hand in hand. So my political platform, the philanthropy that I do to give back to all of the charities I'm involved with in Israel, real estate when it was the Wild West here in Miami and everything was off market and you got to talk to this one and go behind this one. I'm a team player, and if you do things respectfully and politely, everything works. That's all. So do I?
Yeah.
Donald Trump is great for the economy, for America, for education, for prosperity. Yes, I do. I also love that he has a real estate background and he had it all, lost it all, bounced back. I'm a proponent and I'm a believer and I like what he has to say. So I got behind that and had some friends in the administration and ended up attending a lot of high profile political events. And I loved every minute of it.
The book, Art of the Deal, I'm sure you read it.
Of course.
I mean, that just reveals so much. And another thing that everybody's thinking, whether they agree with you or not, is that when you put the name Donald Trump out there, it triggers people. And a lot of people are afraid of what they're going to lose. And I bet you've gained more than you've lost.
I have. A lot of people align with me politically, and whether they do or they don't, like we said, as long as it's respectful. And I believe this is America, honey. This is the land of the free and the brave, and not everybody will have the same opinion on almost any topic. But if you're not aggressive and combative, then, this is our society. We have to learn how to get along with all different opinions, thoughts. That's just how it goes.
Something powerful about what you said is I spent some time in England 20 years ago, and I remember there were a lot of people there from the Middle East, and they would talk about the States. They said, the thing I love about the United States is that's one place where everybody can be and they can agree to disagree. He said, I remember this one guy said, I don't remember what country he was from, frankly, but he said, where I come from, that's not how it is. And you just spoke to that. And to stop talking about what is in your heart. There's so much to lose in that. Was it ever even a question for you, or this is just who I am?
Yeah, my parents were immigrants. They came here from Israel. They came with nothing. My dad put himself through university and created the American dream. And to me, that was always an example. And as soon as he started making money, he started giving back and being charitable and created this wonderful life and raised a family and put everyone through, private schools. And, I was very privileged to grow up with privilege. The second generation that, when they came, it was like starting at zero. So I have a lot of appreciation and a conscious understanding of what that means.
I think coming in the United States, being born in another country gives you a great appreciation for what this is about. So parlaying that back into real estate, I imagine again let's touch on this. And we'll pivot more into the real estate or wherever you want to take this. This is your interview, Sharon. I don't want to hold back on anything.
And talk about kind of the transition. So entering the real estate arena with the background of service, of being a service provider and always having discretion and commitment to clients and being reliable and being accessible, which is a big, big problem in Miami, a huge problem. I think every real estate agent can agree with me. If I had $1 for every time I would text a client, or a realtor and saying, hey, I saw your property. Can I show it? Crickets. No response. Half a day.
Yeah.
That, responsive factor, which not everybody has in South Florida. I came from that background of being a service provider where my client's first, no matter what. So if a client needs to reach me, I'm accessible, I'm reliable, I'm discretionary. Everything we do is kept on the down low unless they want to be out there announced. Otherwise, all of those tools helped me segue so beautifully into real estate. So when I got into it, I didn't have to start from the preliminary stages of learning that. That was in my DNA for plus years.
So basically, you're talking about in Florida, being accessible is a problem. If there are even agents who are successful, who are inaccessible, I would imagine that created success for you, but it also creates challenges. How do you manage and navigate that?
So that's a constant balancing act. And I try to, shut my phone down late at night. Just last night, a client was texting me at 10:30 p.m. Hey, a project you sent me a while back, how high are the ceilings? And I'm like, does this have to be answered now at 10:30 p.m.? Can we regroup tomorrow? But he loved the fact that, my phone wasn't quite shut yet. So I did start engaging and the conversation started. So, of course, we have to juggle family, lifestyle, work, all of that stuff. But I do make myself reachable so clients know I'm there for them. And we're in a competitive market. There's a lot of agents out there, and there's a lot of fantastic agents out there. So clients, when they need to reach somebody or they want to buy something or sell something and they try to reach you and they can't, and another day passes, they can just call the next broker in town.
And there are hundreds lined up.
There are so many. For me, that's part of the challenge, is that balancing it all. But when I do it and I do it well, the payout is wonderful.
And again, you're balancing concierge business, philanthropy, and real estate. And when you got your license, you weren't sure if it was going to be commercial or residential. I think you actually went into a little commercial.
I started off on a commercial team at EWM. I tried to broker, $1 million projects. I had my pie in the sky idea of, I'm going to sell this development piece and this piece of land and this multifamily conversion. And I dived right into go big or go home. And the deals weren't closing so quickly. So then I'm like, all right, I got to eat. So I was like, all right, let me put these 75 plus $1 million deals to the side and figure out the direction that I'm going to go. I did sell a couple of assisted living facilities. So I did a couple of commercial assets, but then God was on my side and timing had it that the COVID period came. And at that moment, a lot of businesses slowed down and were suffering, but my business was exploding because everybody just wanted to break out.
It was crazy.
Yeah, they were on lockdown for so long. They're like, which city, which country is open? Get me a jet. I need to get out. Let me go to Mexico. Let me go to the Bahamas. So all the conversations were happening. And then, of course, South Florida exploded. And at that time, those high net worth clients from LA, Toronto, Chicago, New York City were like, what can you help us with? And at that moment, I completely pivoted from commercial, decided to go full on residential, luxury residential. And I was super, super lucky. My first ever residential lease that I signed for a property rental in Miami was for $85,000 a month. So that was a nice segue into residential rentals. And then that client offered a lease with an option to buy. He ended up buying the house for $13 million. And that started the snowball effect of, if you have relationships and you know of properties that are off market, and COVID time was here, and that's when everything started falling into place.
People coming from outside the industry will say it's tough because I don't know anybody. And then people that know everybody like you do will say it's tough because people don't see me as a broker, or they see me as a kid, or they see me as somebody else's kid, or they just don't see me in that light. How were you able to develop the relationships and the mindset to come in and so quickly pick up an $85,000 lease with an option for $13 million that closed? And, we're looking at 3 sales records in less than 5 years. What are the conversations? What's the mindset?
So first I had to explain to people, wait, but I thought you were a concierge. I didn't know you sell houses. So there's that whole trajectory of change where, okay, now I have to brand myself as luxury lifestyle specialist. So I can arrange a luxurious family vacation at the Four Seasons, but I can also sell you a residence at the Four Seasons or a property or anything like that. So that was a little bit of a challenge. And then I had to create my social media. But I thought you sell, industrial and development sites. Oh, now you do waterfront mansions. But I think once it started rolling, the word of mouth just started exploding. So that guy from New York City that I rented the house to, because he had just got out of the city and rented a house in the Hamptons. And he's like, Sharon, I'm paying a crazy amount of money to be in the Hamptons. It's cold. It's miserable. It's drizzly. I don't want to be here.
And the water's not that pretty. Sorry, everybody in the Hamptons.
He was like, I want to look at the ocean. I want to be. And I found him this magnificent compound with this grand gate and driveway where gates close and you're in like Disneyland. They literally a grotto and a swim up bar and the most magnificent property that I was on FaceTime with him because he was in New York City and it was challenging to come. And I had my earpiece in. This is a funny story. And I knew this was the home for him because he likes grand and opulent. And this place it was like Versailles. There were copper statues and waterfalls. And I'm on FaceTime with him and he's in my ear. And the client, the owner, is walking around behind me and he goes, I'll take it. Whatever he wants, I'll take it. And I'm like, And I'm like, the owner's with me. Relax. Let's just continue the tour and let's see where it goes. Sure enough, we were able to negotiate, and there was so much excitement at the time, and property was so scarce that if you found something great that other people didn't know about, you wanted to just lock it up, which we did. So that was a great stepping stone. And then, he would tell people, and the Canadian clients and people from all over just started wanting to find inventory. And I had access to inventory that others didn't. I relied on those local relationships.
I think something really powerful is a lot of times people want to change what they're doing and they want to forget their past and just completely change their identity. And what you do, whether you're aware of it or not, is you take what you've got now, you take your relationships, you take what you've got now, you don't throw it away. You take that and cultivate it into a way to serve people, into a way to elevate your career. You don't hide what you value. You don't hide who you are. You make that a big part of what you do.
First of all, I'm a consummate Floridian. I'm obsessed with Miami. People from everywhere. Anytime I'm ever on vacation and I'm a bit of a world traveler, I'll go anywhere, but I'll be like, you know what? But there's nothing like coming home to Miami. We have everything. It's such a vibrant city. We have incredible climate, beaches, nightlife, restaurants, business, economy, great schools, great institutions, great charities. It's really such an international hub. It's just my favorite city in the world. When you lead with that, and people that know me know I'm very passionate and I really enjoy and embrace the lifestyle, and it's different seeing the evolution. So when I was a little girl, the Brickell skyline simply wasn't what it was today. Edgewater didn't exist. Everything's expanded and gotten bigger and grander and more beautiful, and these boutique amenity properties. It's incredible. The members clubs, everything. And you keep bumping into people, and you're the OG crowd. So I lead with that. I am very proud of my Jewish identity, very proud of my philanthropic causes, very proud of my political standing, and love it or hate it. But for the most part, most people love it.
Well, a lot of people say if you do that, you're going to eliminate half of your audience, but you can't even serve half the people. You may as well be serving the people that are meant for you. I remember I had a client, I said something about Instagram. She said, "You're not going to follow my Instagram." She said, "Because if you do, you'll hate me." She said, "I know your politics, and if you know mine, we might not be friends anymore." And what I loved about that was, first of all, I don't know if I would have judged her. I don't think I would have. But what I loved about that was owning who I was, not even as well as you do. I recognized that she respected me for it, and that was so powerful to know who you are matters, and not because you're becoming who everybody wants you to be, but because you're authentically who you are. And there's so much that brings to the table.
If you're respectful, then you can embrace and accept people that are different than you. And that's fine. And people message me, "I would never buy a house from you. Unfollow." Oh, so sorry to see you
Right. Thank God we didn't waste our time. I have some really close friends that we just don't agree, but we can have really healthy conversations about it. And there's so much power just in that. As you look at real estate, what has been your biggest challenge or struggle that you've broken through, and what did you get out of it?
That identity crisis of, but I thought you're in the food business. So how are you in the food business if you're in the, luxury business? Because when I came back to South Florida 11 years ago, I bought a restaurant. I had a bagel, dairy, cafe style restaurant. And then I opened a Chinese restaurant. So your identity gets wrapped up in what you're doing at the moment. So, okay, so Sharon knows chefs and concierge and restaurants. Wait a minute, you sell houses too? You don't want to be jack of all trades either. So that was a challenge, pivoting and making my branding and my identity aligned with this new venture that I'm on. But once that was positively embraced by people, then I overcame that fairly quickly. But there was a time there in the beginning where I had to constantly explain to people, no, I got my license. I sell real estate, which I think happens when you pivot from any other industry. It takes time for people to identify you with that new identity and to think of you with real estate transactions. So I would have acquaintances or friends or family embarking on something real estate related, and I wouldn't come to mind because they associated me with a restaurant or a chef or a culinary school. Yeah, you're a graduate, so why would you know? No, I'm not. I got my license. I worked here. I worked there. I started off at Keller Williams like everybody else. And then I went to EPM. And then, a lot has happened as years pass. People have a learning curve.
A lot of people try to do that, especially into real estate. It looks easy because it's everywhere, and it's not. Everybody thinks they're going to be famous in the movies. Not everybody is. You didn't necessarily leave your old identity. You expanded your identity, and you did it successfully. How were you able to pull that off? A lot of people would just say you can't do it.
My name was in the media. We broke a record for waterfront home in Surfside, selling it for 6.9 and then 8 point something million dollars. So once I broke a record and I was featured in The Real Deal, then the house on the water, Pine Tree Drive, sold with a lease and then a sale. And then you got all these out of town people boarding into Miami talking about, oh, where'd you get that great property? Oh, Sharon Beck found it for me. So as things started evolved, then people were talking and then my identity was solidified.
The big message here is don't keep yourself or your success as a secret.
That absolutely. I'm not comfortable on camera per se, and I'm certainly not a huge proponent of making content and being on social media. It takes me out of my comfort zone. I'm trying to do it more and more. You have to in this business. People have to know what you're up to. They have to understand where you are. You're out and about, you're networking, you're marketing yourself, you're picking up leads, you're talking to clients, you're in the know. You got to be in the know and to really cultivate those relationships and keep the business momentum going.
Looking back, you get in, you learn your market, you know the people, you break some price records, and whatever you're doing, don't keep it a secret. So people identify and we build the momentum of doing business. For anybody who's looking at whatever level of business they're in, getting it to that next level, it's not like you knew you were going to break a price record. But looking back, what did you do that did truly cultivate and seal and close that deal?
It was definitely listening to the client's needs and really being able to also read between the lines. A lot of times a client will tell you, I only want to live in this pocket of neighborhood and I'm only looking for new construction house. But as you get to know them better and you listen to them and you understand the focal points about why they wanted a certain thing, you can expand what they're looking on. Because if there's nothing existing in this little tiny pocket and you educate them about the area and how you can still find them something great that doesn't align with exactly what their original list meant, then, you can be that much more productive. On that particular home where I broke that record, I sold it to a client that just wanted to get out of New York and he was looking for dual residency or whatever reason he wanted to come to South Florida, but he wasn't really sold on that neighborhood and he didn't fall in love with it. So he ended up not spending too much time. And then came around a huge New York City, very affluent client who had been looking for a while and nothing existed that fit his prototype. And then I said, wait a sec. I have a client who lives in this house. It's not listed. He's not on the market, but I think he would sell for the right number. Then the conversation started. And sure enough, I reached out and he said, you know what? You're right. I really never took possession of the house, never fully moved in. Give me a number I can't refuse. And we did. And he made a couple $1 million in less than a year. And client number 2 was living there and loving the house and super happy.
Anybody else in that conversation would have seen an unreasonable buyer that just what they wanted wasn't there. You didn't see that. You took what you had. You thought about the relationships. You thought about what was there. And you understood what he wanted before he did. And you knew how to have the conversations to put it together.
Listening is the biggest part of this business. You have to really listen to clients. So many people come in with a script and I'm going to say this and I'm going to sell myself on the client and they're going to fall in love with me. It's challenging. I'm not the best listener, but I work on it all the time. Sometimes people walk in, you go to a listing agreement, just don't talk. Just sit there and take in your surroundings and understand what makes this client tick. And what aligns you with them, make them feel super comfortable, make them feel heard, make them understand why you are a trustworthy partner to get the work done for them. That's really important.
Something funny you said is, I'm not the greatest listener. Usually that's a sign that you're at least a decent listener. And when you think about listening, what makes a good listener?
So a lot of times, you'll meet a client and they'll be like, they're very weary about who you are. Every agent's trying to get my listing and everybody tells me I have the best house and everybody this. So why are we talking? If you're not a seller or nothing makes sense or in the market, why? oh, because you're retired and you want to move where your friends moved, or because your kid's going to college out of town and you want to be closer to them, or because you've lived here and you paid, $7 for this house and you have so much equity that you're ready to pull out. Once you're able to identify that piece, it becomes so much easier. Then you just focus on that, not about their script, about all the negative components that are surrounding it, especially in tougher markets. But you get to listen, if you really want to move closer to your kid and, you're able to do well now. So even if the market's not at the height of the market, we could still get you a fantastic number and, make the deal make sense for them.
Lean into their why. That question why can be dangerous because it creates defensiveness. But when you focus on the why that's driving them, it changes everything.
Sometimes I'll sit with an elderly client and they'll feel like I don't understand their way of looking at things, or I can't relate to how attached they are to their home because they raise their grandchildren and their dog, and they've got all the stories, and you try to make it relatable, but you can't, because I never lived in a house for 65 years. So the agenda has to fly out the window. You're not here for a listing to make money and have an agenda. You have to really be like, I'm here to service you. What makes you comfortable? How do you want me to navigate this? And really get into their comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. What is the biggest challenge you think you've overcome?
I think certain times when clients have their eye on something that either they can't afford or that can't work for them. And like I was working on a deal where everything came together when we went through so many steps of the process. And then when we came down to the very end, it simply was out of their budget. So they thought they can pull it off. And after all the time and work and fell in love with the house and thought they were at the finish line, it didn't work out as planned. So that was a very challenging experience where you have to break it to them that it's not going to work and it's not going to happen. And they feel like they're giving up a dream. But stay positive and tell everybody if it didn't work out, it meant that house wasn't meant for you. And down the road, I bet there'll come a day when you'll look back and say, thank God I didn't buy that house, especially if they struggle financially to make it work. You never want to house poor.
Having the benefit of hindsight is always pretty powerful, but we look back and we go, I thought I wanted X. Like I thought I wanted to be a chef, but I had no idea that owning a concierge company and being a top real estate agent in South Florida, breaking price records was even in store for me. And if I had chosen to control it all, then the really great outcome that was there for me would have never happened.
Oh man, imagine if I would have been doing this for that 25 years that I focused on, sending chefs out to clients. If I would have embedded myself in the industry and become one of those original, predecessors of the industry, which there are loads of in Miami, phenomenal, established, experienced agents with a lifetime of knowledge behind them. But, you can't look at that. I also think.
Well, what I mean is you could just be a chef cooking in somebody's house, but instead you own a concierge company and you're in luxury and you're breaking price records. And I love how you think, because you think, well, whatever I do is going to be huge. Whatever I do is huge. I just choose what I do. And there's a mindset in of itself. You think that way so much you don't know you think that way.
The dream big thing is I grew up that way. My parents dreamt big. My grandparents dreamt big. Sky's the limit has always been my life motto. You could never truly succeed if you have a fear of failure. I just made this beautiful thing in my house. It says, think good and it'll be good. Mentally, it really does control your outcome. Morning manifestations, walks on the ocean, yoga at the ocean. Those are all ways to start the day on such a positive note where it's like, I got this. Reach for the stars.
I met you around an incredible group of people. You have amazing people around you and you become who you're around.
I definitely surround myself with amazing people with good energy and people from all walks of life. When you and I met at this Wall Street conference, there were so many different business synergies going on. I'm not in the startup world and I'm not in the biotech world and I'm not in the cryptocurrency world, but that room was such high-powered, amazing room of people full of adrenaline and excitement and new business ventures. And I love associating myself with people like that. People tell me, oh, you're losing track of real estate because you're always going to these different events and conferences and meeting different people. And I said, no, honey, this is all comes together where you become a connector and you become a go-to person where they know, wait a second, if I need something, Sharon, she's around. She knows a lot of people. She's got access to things. And that's a big part of the business. That's what makes somebody unique.
Making and receiving powerful introductions and being the person of the mindset to turn problems and things that look impossible to the opportunities that everybody else missed.
Every problem has a solution. There's someone out there that can help you solve this problem. So if you meet the right lender and the right builders and developers and people who procure products from overseas, you got every tool in your toolbox, and it makes life great and exciting.
There's so many amazing pieces of the puzzle out there that we get to play with and put together and create a beautiful life. Final 3 questions. Number 1, what would you say is the single greatest resource of your success?
It's a networking piece. Every time I encounter different things and come across different people, it helps build that bridge. That's a resource that I lean into and I enjoy it. People will tell me, you spend so much time on this charity work. It's pulling away from your business, but I never feel like it's taking away from my business. It goes hand in hand. And the more abundance you put out there, the more it comes to you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. If I'm just being completely cynical, the model of my success was being involved in the right charities because it's aligning you and getting you inside the circles of the right people. The reality is it's elevating who you are. It's giving you a cause. It's greater than yourself.
Yeah. And when you're authentic with it, I think people see you as she's not a shark. She's not a crazy businesswoman. Look what she volunteers her time. And this is really where her heart is at, whether it's underprivileged children and orphans or, soldiers that got wounded in the war or feeding the hungry, or there's so many incredible charities. And when, those philanthropists view you as somebody that takes charge of this and makes it a part of your life and your identity, they see you as a very multifaceted person. And it's not all about the bottom line and the business and the dollar sign. So even though I have the right intentions with it, it just completes the full picture.
So true. Second question. Is there a book, or if there is a book that's changed your life or your business that we have to read? What is it?
Well, recently I reread The Go-Giver. I don't know if we touched upon this.
I feel like we met when we chatted on the phone the other day, we talked about this.
Yeah. So the book, I read it years ago, but it was such a strong reminder of, you don't want to be a go-getter. Everybody thinks it's such a compliment to be a go-getter. I'm always going. I'm a busy bee. I'm work harder, work more, but it's work smarter and lead with compassion and lead with authenticity and giving back and doing all the things that makes the business tenfold. And everything starts coming your way. When you put all the right energies out, it's like a parable, but it has examples that are just important.
It has steps in it, and it was like step 4 or 5 about the willingness to receive. There are all these gifts the world has for us, and I see that in you. In seeing the world as a world of abundance, there's so much out there for us, but if we're not willing to receive it and use our resources and receive that client that everybody else may have thought was difficult, and there are all these things in your world coming your way that you cultivate into record-breaking real estate deals.
Yeah. Well, that was a call that I jumped on 5 minutes before this podcast where someone referred me to a client. And then he said, Sharon, how high is your tolerance level? Because he will know, but he's an abuser. And I said, I embrace abusers. I'm used to it. I can handle it.
Let's talk about abusers for a minute, because you know what a lot of abusers are? I learned this a long time ago. It took me a long time, but I still learned it. The trophy listing that kind of pivoted my career was an abuser. And to this day, he loves me because I figured out there's just a little boy in there trying to protect himself. Recognizing that gave me a form of communication where if there's any victim in this conversation, it is the abuser, because he's not, his effort isn't to abuse. He's really just trying to protect himself.
Yeah, just wants to be heard. So that's exactly how
to be heard is
he doesn't want to be taken advantage of, and he doesn't want people to think that just because he has money, he's going to overpay. And there's 100 agents lined up. I said, darling, I'm here for you. You speak. What can I do for you? How can I make you feel comfortable? Well, I'm not doing this and I'm not paying that. And you tell them. And I'm like, okay. So you got to be that calming voice of reason, put your own aggression and assertiveness to the side and be open to receiving. So know that with all that crazy bark, you can really get a relationship on our client and a sale done, but you got to be open to so many aspects to that kind of deal.
And you're listening. You're actually listening beyond what he's saying, but the emotions and what's driving what's coming out of him, which completely changes the conversation and what you can bring to it and what you're able to do with it.
Wealthy clients will come at you from a place of, I've been taken advantage of and I won't allow it to happen. So I assure them off the bat that my sole purpose is protecting them in their best interest. So when they feel authentic connection with you and that you really have their back, they let their guard down, and that's very significant for them.
Well, that's the only way that you can help them. It's so important because a lot of times, even in the way real estate agents are trained, which is part of what motivated me to start this podcast a long time ago, the scripting stuff. And then like we're negotiating with the client. How, like, you're supposed to be representing the client, not negotiating with the client. Now, we might say everything's a negotiation, but at the end of the day, if we can't align to our client, how can we represent them? And the two things they're always asking are you listening? Do you get me?
Mm-hmm.
And can I trust you?
Yes.
And the more money a client has, the more important and paramount those things seem to become. Not even what's your dog and pony show, but are you listening?
Yes.
Do you know your stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And can I trust you?
Yeah. You got to make them feel comfortable. And you got to put your ego way to the side and get to that level where they feel they could trust you, especially with luxury.
Yeah. Final question. If we forget everything in this conversation and everybody listening, but one thing, what would you want that one thing to be?
If you can identify your passion and what differentiates you from the next guy, and you can really put your finger on it and get there with dedication, but never lose that fire. Like there are times where, the market's down or none of the deals are closing and nothing's coming together and you can get down on it. And even me back in the day, or, when business was slow, I would think, my concierge thing isn't so bad. Maybe I should focus back on that. But then I remember how amazing this business is and how passionate I am about it and selling clients their dream. We don't sell property. We're dream makers. We get them their forever purchase or their long time purchase or one of the biggest, most important purchases of their life. And when I think about the passion that I lead with on that is huge. So I would tell people never to lose that fire.
Love it. Thank you so much. This was so awesome. Sharon Beck, South Florida, the agency. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Jere Metcalf podcast. To get show notes, get other access to other episodes, and to send any guest requests, go to jmpodcast.com. That's jmpodcast.com.